One of our great customers who have done this, enabled a conversational interface with its clients, is Morgan Stanley. And today, I'm very excited to have with me Dustin DeVincentis from Morgan Stanley to share his experience. Dustin, would you like to come up on stage? Dustin! Thank you for being with us, Dustin.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great to be here. Simon, I wonder if I could start with a story.
You can do whatever you want.
All right. So thanks. I don't get that very often. So Simon, I was in New York a few months ago with your team, and some of my colleagues were there, and we were talking about a deployment we had recently completed, and we were talking about how it was going and what the feedback was and where we wanted to take this product. And Zach, your head of product management on your team, very graciously took a moment to say how much he enjoyed working with Morgan Stanley. It's very, very nice. And what he's continued on with is that what his team really likes about working with Morgan Stanley is that we care about our customers, our clients. We care about developing compelling experiences for them, things that are simple and intuitive. And we're actually pushing them to innovate, right? To test the boundaries of the technology. So this is when I sort of came to and shook my head and said, Zach, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but I must be mistaken. What I think I heard was Twilio, a tech startup in San Francisco, telling Morgan Stanley, a 100-year-old financial services organization, that we're the ones who are pushing you to innovate? That's kind of when I had my Twilio, you had me at hello moment.
Thank you, Dustin. Actually, Twilio had me at Ahoy World. So, and Zach is a great guy. So, Dustin, can you, I mean, everybody knows who Morgan Stanley is, but you can tell us a little bit about the business and then share what drove you to build something like this.
Sure. So what we do at Morgan Stanley, our financial advisors, they work with our clients to understand their financial lives. They do that, they understand their goals, and then they set a course for going to achieve those goals. And all the while, they're managing risk. So our FAs, they bring a ton of intellectual capital and expertise to the table when it comes to navigating the financial markets and managing risk. But if you ask any financial advisor what business they're in, they're really in the business of managing relationships. So what our FAs do is they sit down with their clients and they understand their financial lives, they understand where income comes from, where their expenses are, and then they work, which is really difficult, to crystallize what's most important to clients. So Simon, maybe you want to send your kids to school one day, or perhaps you want to care for your parents in old age, or maybe you have a charitable cause that's important to you and you want to contribute to that. So this process is not an easy one, and it wouldn't be possible at all without very good communication and the ability to build some rapport and build some trust. So what we built was a custom application. It's called Morgan Stanley Messenger that sits atop Twilio's APIs. And what happens is our financial advisors on their bring your own devices, they download this app, they get a telephone number, and they give it to their clients. Clients don't download an app. They just have a phone number, and just like you and I would in our day-to-day, we would call and text our financial advisor. That's it. Pretty simple.
Oh, that's cool. And did you face any challenges along the way while building this?
So we did a couple that I'll call out. The first one is around a very high bar that's set out there. There's a lot of applications that message, and the user experience from our standpoint was challenging to manage because people expect it to be easy and intuitive. The other one, because we're in financial services, we're a heavily regulated industry, and therefore we have to do things in a compliant way. So we did this because, we needed to offer our financial advisors a compliant solution. Yeah.
Got it. And how's it going, and what's been the user experience?
So you know what's funny? The experience that we're solving from our user's perspective is actually not a complex one. They say, great, I can message with my financial advisor and my financial advisor team, so it's fantastic. But because it's rather simple, they're pushing us to enhance. Where we're doing that is I'll give you an example to articulate this. So we have a financial advisor, let's call her Karen. Karen actually is not on her own. She has a partner who has some complementary skills, and Karen also has some support professionals who interact directly with our clients as well. And then on the client side, let's say it's John Smith. Well, John has a wife and an adult child. And when John thinks about Morgan Stanley and the advice that he gets, he doesn't want us just to work with John to advise John. He thinks about his whole family. So they want to have a group conversation, and that's why we're working with you on group messaging. The other thing is our clients are pushing us, and our financial advisors are pushing us to think about the clients who spend a lot of time outside the US. So we know SMS is very popular here in the US, but when you get outside of the US, it's not at all popular, right? They're using other applications like WhatsApp, and WeChat, so they're challenging us to think about integration with those points.
Got it. Got it. And the room here is full of developers. Do you have any advice as you thought of building this? And as you build it?
I do. So I have two things. Simon, when I saw our teams work together and started seeing some really aggressive progress toward achieving our goals, what I would attribute that to is being transparent. So we opened up, right? We Morgan Stanley, you Twilio, we opened up and we talked candidly about our goals and objectives and how we can see those two overlap. So that's when we started seeing a lot of traction, a lot of things moving. The other one is this concept of challenging each other, right? So thinking back to Zach and my conversation a few months ago, what I'd say is if you're working with Twilio, they're open partners, they want to be challenged, they want to challenge you, so be open to that very candid and tough dialogue sometimes.
Cool. Yeah. This is so 2019, a 100-year-old bank telling a room full of Silicon Valley developers how to innovate. I love it. Dustin, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Dustin DeVincentis, folks.